on this computer. Okay, hello to Helen, hello to Elaine, and I'm Jane Binnion.
Hi.
So I'm very excited to be doing an interview with Elaine and Helen about crowdfunding. They have spent lockdown doing a crowdfunder via Back Her Business, and we're going to find out all about how that has worked for them, any problems. We've had questions sent in from women interested in doing crowdfunding who want to know all about your experiences. So first of all, Helen, can you just introduce yourself and your business, just who you are, what you do?
Yeah, I'm Helen Dixon. I'm a yoga teacher, and I've set up a website called Slowly Go Community.
Thank you. And Elaine, tell us about you and what's your business?
Yeah, so I'm Elaine, and I'm the founder of Vi's Jamaican Rum Cakes, the rummiest cakes in Cumbria.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I have sampled both of these women's wares, and I can recommend them both. So I'm Jane Binnion. I run the Growing Club, and the Growing Club is a social enterprise based in Lancaster, and we do enterprise and employment skills training for women. And we're involved in Back Her Business as we're a delivery partner for NatWest, supporting women that decide to go down the route of Back Her Business fundraising, crowdfunding for their new business. Now you'll find out all about that, and I'll put the link for NatWest Back Her Business in underneath the post. So that if you've not heard of it and you're interested in it, you can go and find out more. So first of all, Elaine, tell us about your crowdfunder. What were you crowdfunding for, and how much were you going for?
Okay, so I was crowdfunding for, well, I needed some funds to raise a van, some funds to purchase a van, so that I could deliver the rummiest cakes in Cumbria to your doorstep. So I decided to go for the maximum, 10,000. So I needed to raise 5,000 myself, and then NatWest Back Her Business would inject another 5,000 into the project as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And Helen, what were you crowdfunding for, and how much?
Yeah, well, I was wanting to crowdfund for a new website. I hadn't taken my business onto website. I was just kind of doing classes in local church halls and things like that. But during lockdown, I encouraged my redundancy, if you will, because it was always on the cards, and to become a full-time yoga teacher. And what I wanted to do was set up some free and education and practices, but doing that via a community. So I wanted to create a website. So I came up with Slowly Go because I realized that during lockdown, like lots of other people, I didn't want to live my life working 50 odd hours a week, running from here to there. And so it was a whole ethos that I wanted to create, which was something about taking things a little bit slower in life. And I know that people are busy, but even if you can only take an hour a day or 10 minutes a day sometimes to go slow. So that was the concept. So I wanted to raise £1,000, but put a reach up to try and raise up to £1,500.
And you both hit your target, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I exceeded mine. Mine ended about an hour, just not even an hour ago. And so I actually managed to raise £11,036.
Wow.
There were 131 backers, and this was done within 28 days. So I'm just super thrilled about that.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
It is, absolutely. There are some seriously generous people out there today.
Yeah. And that's what our women want to hear about as well, actually. They're kind of fascinated in that. And Helen, you hit your target too, right?
Yeah, I hit my target with I got the 1,000, and I think it ended up at something like £1,493 or something like that. So yeah, I was absolutely, like you say, super thrilled. Just overwhelmed with generosity, and the support of people has just been, you know, heartwarming. Definitely.
That is incredible that you not only hit your target, but you went over.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to put some questions to you that will kind of explore the process of how this works, really. Both kind of the mechanics of it, but also the emotional side of it, which is scary. I think that's scary. So let me find the first question is from Nicola, and she said, was it scary putting yourself out there? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, well, Nicola, absolutely. As you said, Jane, I mean, the thing about, I think what's scary is the unknown. It's the doubts that come, and, you know, can I do this? What amount should I go for? Should I go for the you know, the 5,000, and if I do, am I even going to get, you know, 500? So it was a bit scary for me, but I just listened to those voices, really, of you know, there's voices of doubt. I recognized they were there, and then I just let them go, and I just said to myself, I'm just going to do what I can. I'll do my best, and then just leave everything else to you know, to whatever is going to happen. I didn't try, and there was emotion in it, but yeah, I just think that I just left it. Not, I don't like to say to chance, because it's not exactly chance. I just did what I could, and then just left the rest, let go of it, abandoned it, and just said, I'm just going to see what happens. And worst case scenario, you know, I won't reach my target, and that's, you know, that'll just be life.
And what about you, Helen? Did you find it scary getting yourself out there?
Absolutely. I think even at first I thought, oh, this isn't for me, this is for other people to do, and that my concept, in a way, it was just a concept at the time, and I thought, oh, no one will maybe back that. So I was very tempted not to do it. It was only really from when we had the discussion group that I thought, oh, maybe actually I could have a go of it. So yeah, it was incredibly scary, and it kind of felt like almost like a bit cheeky that I was asking people for money, because I just set up Zoom yoga through lockdown. So I'd started to change my business model anyway, and I was asking for a subscription rather than just a drop in. I'd always worked on my own. I was kind of quite low key, really, and it was always a hobby. And then this almost felt like a very different level that I'd moved into. Putting yourself out there almost means as well that you might get criticism for it, you know, and then full of self-doubt, am I good enough to do this? Will I be able to carry it on? And yeah, I think there's something there that you're thinking, I'll never get that much money, and how might I do it? But I'm always somebody as well who will take on a bit of a challenge, and kind of like thinking, a bit like Elaine, give it a go, see what happens. If I get any people backing it, that'll be super. And if I don't, well, I've kind of had a go. And it was something that I wanted to do anyway. Just the fact that there was this opportunity in this platform for me to use to try and do it via crowdfunding was just perfect, really. So yes, scary. I kept checking online and seeing how I was doing, and that was like, oh, nobody would have you know, donated. But then every time you see a donation, it's like, wow, I can't believe that people are so lovely and kind. And it just really fills your heart, really, with this gratitude and kindness of people. So it was scary and lovely all at the same time.
That's brilliant. Were you scared of not reaching your target? Was that something to be scared of? Helen?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, it felt like a big reach to go, but not only not to reach it, because at first it kind of, it was a slow start, and then it built momentum, and then it stops again, and then you get trickles. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can see Elaine's nodding. It'd be interested to see what your kind of, you know, graph would be as well. So it's kind of like, at first I'm thinking, am I live? Am I not live? Or are people seeing it? And most publicity was through Facebook. So Facebook has been a really, really great tool for me to reach the people that I teach, obviously through Zoom. I think if that was, circumstances were different, it might be more of a struggle, but it was because I'd already had a bit of a following and that people could already see me on Zoom and on Facebook and things like that. So that kind of felt like the good, kind of an open door for them to reach. I don't know what it would have been like under different circumstances, but very scared about not being able to make it. And yeah, but thrilling when you do.
And what about you? Because obviously I watch both of you. I was checking in most days to see how you were doing. Elaine, you know, I was thinking kind of when you'd raised about 7,000, I was thinking, are you scared of not getting the rest? To get that far and not get the rest, was that scary?
Yeah, I'm not sure if scary, you know, is the right word. I wasn't afraid. It's really doubt. It's self-doubt. That's the word that I probably used, and just I just didn't know, and I just didn't know if it was possible. I didn't know if people would still be supporting me over, as you said, that 7,500. But as Helen was saying, there at the beginning, you know, the first day, I think in the first few hours, I raised like over £1,500. So, you know, you see the statistics and I think, wow, if you keep going at this rate, then you'll get this much. But obviously the next day it went right down.
Yeah.
And that's how it continued really throughout most of the process until like the last minute. And there was another little spike, but not as much as at the beginning. So there is a pattern. You will raise more at the beginning and at the end. So, you know, don't worry if in the middle it dips, it's normal.
Yeah, and that's that in terms of the model that NatWest are using, that's very much everyone's experience. That there's a lot of interest at the beginning, a lot of interest at the end, and in the middle it's like, oh no, are you going to do this? Which is why NatWest put their money in when they do, to boost your confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So Paula asked, how did you reach a lot of different people? You both had a requirement on numbers, didn't you? As part of the deal, the crowdfunding deal with you. What was your requirement of numbers, Elaine? And Paula wants to know, how did you reach a big number of people?
Right. Yeah, so mine was 100, and I didn't really understand all of the system before I started. It took me a while. I think I had a couple of conversations with you, Jane, about, you know, when does NatWest put the money in and how much do they put, because at the beginning I thought it was just a question of raising money, but it's not. It's about having a certain number of backers to raise that amount of money. So I needed more than 100 or more backers to raise £5,000 to get the full amount from NatWest. So what I did first of all is before I even started the campaign, I reached out to my family and friends, because my business, it's a family business. If I was my mother, a family project, let's say, if I was my mother, and she died in 2018. But when she was alive, she used to make these scrumptious rum cakes. And so I decided to turn my lot into a legacy by reproducing the cakes that were based on my mother's recipe. A lot of people had tasted these cakes. My mother was so kind and generous, so she gave them out to family, friends, colleagues, and just, everybody. So what I did is I went back to my family and people who knew my mother and asked them, if I were to do this crowdfunding campaign, would you back me? And so that gave me a lot of confidence and assurance that yes, I would at least raise £1,000 if I were to proceed. And so what I did is I'm on all the social media, well, not all of them, but I'm on 4 social media platforms. So I use those. I have a Facebook page, so Vi's Jamaican Rum Cakes. I have a personal Facebook page as well, Elaine in Cumbria. I use that as well. I'm on LinkedIn, that's Elaine in Cumbria as well. On Twitter, Vi's J Rum Cakes. And there's one that I'm missing that I can't remember. LinkedIn, oh, Instagram, Vi's Jamaican Rum Cakes.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 channels that I use to you know, to post and to talk about the project.
And where did most people come from? Did they come to you from social media or from people you know or something else?
I don't know the exact statistics, but most of them are people I know, but quite a few are still, you know, complete strangers. And that was just the most heartwarming thing, you know, to receive money from people that didn't even know my mother, or, you know, that I'd never met. But they were just, I think they're just so touched by the whole story that they gave. But yeah, I think I have to look at the statistics and let you know.
Okay. And you gave cake, of course. That must help. That
Exactly.
must help. Giving people rewards with cake. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was a good way to get people's attention, let's say.
And what about you, Helen? How many people, what was your requirement?
Yeah, I had to get 20 backers altogether, and they came mainly from the fact that I'd been teaching yoga for nearly 20 years, and a lot of those people have been really kind of committed followers of my classes in that time, and have I just got some lovely messages for people to say, you know, that actually by attending my yoga classes it's actually significantly improved their mental health, their physical health. They really look forward to it, they feel part of a community, and it was just their way of thanking me really for providing yoga for all the years that I've been doing it, which was really lovely because I wasn't expecting that. You know, people often say, oh, thank you or whatever, but then to get a personal message for them to say what it's meant to them over the years. And so I had about 4 or 5 people that donated quite a bit of money really, which was just, like I say, overwhelming. And part of my rewards that I offered was like a subscription for a month or a retreat day virtually. So that was interesting, thinking about what rewards you were going to offer for the amount of kind of, you know, support that you were going to get. But yeah, the personal messages were lovely. A couple of people were anonymous, but most people that donated, I knew them, and I managed to reach out to them either through doing my Zoom yoga classes and saying, oh, by the way, I'm doing a crowdfunding thing. If you feel like you'd like to support me, why don't you pop over? But Facebook for me was the main platform that I'd used. And just emailing people, actually emailing people on my list. So if you've got MailChimp probably as well, that would work. But it's kind of, I think the advantage for me is that I'd known people and I'd worked with them for a long period of time, and they felt that they could support me, and they knew my business and they knew my model, and they knew the changes that I'd gone through in terms of lockdown and kind of making my yoga business more full-time now, rather than just a bit of a hobby, although it's never just been just a bit of a hobby. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So, I mean, I've always been clear with people, you need to build your community first, whether or not that's on Twitter or wherever. Don't start your crowdfunding and then try and build your community. Make sure you've got a good network, however that is, first.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that then?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
And because what I'm hearing is, whilst there have been kindness from people you don't know, so most of it was people that you had some sort of relationship with.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think some of my donations that were anonymous were still people that I knew that just wanted to be a bit quiet about it.
Okay.
Same for
Oh,
me as well.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how big a role do you think rewards play in this?
That's a really good question, and I'm not actually sure, because I don't know about you, Helen, but a lot of people donated and they didn't even want a reward. So I'm not sure.
I got a mix. I got a mixture of some people wanting the rewards and some people not. And I had scaled my rewards. So if people potentially gave me £20 or less, they could have like a free recording of a relaxation, say, or another yoga class. And then for £50 or more, I think, I'm trying to remember what, I might have offered a month subscription, which is £25 anyway. So I think for some people, that if they were going to subscribe, it was worth that, and then making a £25 donation. Because so I think that's the way some of it worked out. But then some people, I had somebody donating a larger amount but not wanting any rewards. But also I think some feedback from some of my friends were that initially I wasn't quite sure, and I just thought, well, I'll put a relaxation down or a class that I can send to people, and they said actually you probably need to make it bigger to get more money in. So I took on board their advice. I went in and tweaked it and put more things on, and then I got a bit more kind of higher support supporters, from there. So for me it was quite important that you had different ranges of rewards. And I think it depends on what you offer as well. It's kind of like I could offer a yoga class, or I could offer one-to-one classes, or I could offer a month of classes, or so I think my offer is quite diverse, so I could do a lower offer or a bigger offer as well. So mine
was the same. I had different levels as well. Mine went from £10 to £1,000. I think with the 10, the 15 and the 25 you could get slices of cake. Then with the 50, 75, 100 you could get whole cakes. But then I added like branded cotton reusable bags in there as well. Everybody gets to get a chance to get their name on the wall of fame, the crowdfunder wall of fame, even if they put in £1, because at a certain point when I realized that I needed to get a certain amount of people, I was like, okay, I didn't realize that at the beginning, so I said I was encouraging people to just give £1, and quite a few people did that, and that helped to get the number of supporters up. Another thing that was really good for me was that I put some sponsorship packages together, so 250, 500 and 1,000. And so I've got a sponsor that took out £1,000 sponsorship, so that was really helpful. And things like they get invitations to the launch party, their logo on my website, the logo on the van. So but it was really quite difficult. I don't know about you, Helen, but it took me a while. I changed the rewards before the campaign got going a lot. It was a bit of a headache, but I think I made the right choices.
I changed them
the
during the campaign as well.
Right. Okay.
And added more into it.
Okay.
And also I added more bits into it to try and encourage more people. I probably in hindsight put too many rewards and too many choices down. So but I love that idea of sponsorship and everything. That's
that came from my mentor. Actually, I have a business coach and mentor, and she advised me to do that, and that was brilliant. A brilliant idea of hers.
Fabulous.
And for £1,000, absolutely. I was trying to imagine how big the cake would be for £1,000. So sponsorship makes much more sense. And Helen, it's a great tip that you can go in and change things, even though you've started the campaign.
You can update and change. Definitely.
So I'm going to jump to Jennifer's question. So Jennifer actually did an emergency crowdfund for food for families in South Africa during lockdown, and she was stunned by the kindness. But she's pondering, like, how on earth would you get people to say yes to supporting your business? So she understands that people will be charitable, making sure people that are going hungry have got food, but she can't understand how people would go, yeah, I'll give you some money for your business.
Well, I think that you are your business. So if people around you are for you, then they will support your business. But I say that, but I think one of the surprises for me is that some of the people that I thought would give didn't. And as I said, a lot of people that I didn't even know would give. I've got lots of surprises. So I think my advice is just to don't have any expectations from anybody, even though you might think, that this person is for me, so potentially for my business. That's not necessarily the case. We're talking about money here, and people's beliefs around money are all very different. This is what I found, So some people, they may know, like, and trust you and even love you, but they might not give to your campaign just because of their ideas around money. So just let go of any expectation, I would say. This is what I did in the end anyway. And just allow anybody who wants to give, and if they don't, then just that's their own personal choice.
Thank you. What about you, Helen? What do you think?
I think that I think, again, because people had been attending my classes for a long time, they did get, people were telling me they've had such great benefits from it. And I think that that's the way that they then wanted to put money into it. And I think that they just supported me. And I was really clear about what the money was going to do. So there wasn't any ambiguity around it, really. And I think, again, like Elaine says, some people that you don't expect to give not only a little bit, but give really generously, and you don't realise how you've impacted their life. And some people that you think might give don't. And again, I think not to have any expectations. You genuinely don't know what's going on in people's lives. And because I mean, some people maybe who aren't digital, why would they want to invest in something that was digital? Because they might not understand it, or they might not feel that they benefit from it. So I think it depends on what it is as well that you're offering. Because I've had people kind of like screen the face up going, oh, what do you mean you're asking for money to raise a website? And it's like, but it's to create this community, and it's to offer some free things for people. And yes, there will be a platform in there for me to, offer my yoga and Nordic walking and things like that as well. But actually, it's really nice to kind of to give something back as well at the same time. So, I think some people really got it and wanted to support it. Some people were a little bit not too sure about that, or, a little bit, you could, don't want to look you in the eye. It's like, don't ask me for money. And of course, we were in lockdown, so some people don't have it and wasn't sure the way it was going to work. So it was fine. It's fine if people wanted to support, and fine if people didn't as well.
And I did make sure that the people who gave a pound, they knew that pound was really valuable as well. It doesn't matter if they gave a pound or 1,000. Everybody's contribution was important. And and another thing is, some people promised to give and they didn't, but I just let go of that. It's not an issue.
Okay, absolutely. And you're right, those people that gave a pound were really important, because you needed the numbers.
Exactly.
And they played a really important role in that. So having seen both your campaigns, and you put video out and you let people know, not just like, give me money for my business, but this is what's going on. This is what it's about. This is what's going to happen. So being really clear. And as you say, many of the people it will grab people or it won't. And that's fine. And as you say, sometimes you're surprised at who it grabs.
Yeah, I think in my case, I had a good like foundation from the very beginning, which is my story.
Yeah.
Because and that, you know, just people connected with the story
Yes.
of my mother. So that was really something that was an advantage, I would say, for this project as well. So yeah, the story is important, and you know, it's a lovely story. It's authentic. It's real, and as I said, most of the people that gave knew my mum, so there was that support already there from them. She left a wonderful legacy, and I just want to carry that on.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And of course, you also had a story, didn't you, Helen? Really interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm nodding away there, listening to Elaine. I think if you can tell your story, it does absolutely make it authentic, and people can relate to it. And my story was the fact that I was burning myself out trying to work, you know, probably more than 50. I've got 50 hours in my mind, but I'm sure it was a lot more than that. And I was burnt out.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you know, I'm trying to teach about health and well-being, and I'm burnt out myself, and didn't have the time and the energy that I wanted to give people. Really, it kind of feel like I want to serve people in a way that really helps them to get better health and well-being, and actually I wasn't doing that for me. So the minute that it's sad that I kind of had to have it enforced upon me that when I was furloughed, it was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? And I lost 7 yoga classes. So financially, it was a massive loss for me. But then you make the adjustments and you realise and you look at other ways of working, and I invited the possibility of actually what would happen if I started to do less and didn't go back to work maybe, and did just dedicate my life to something that feels like it's a bit of a vocation for me anyway. And even entertaining that and then doing it, is surprising how many other people say, I don't want to go back to work either, or I've dropped a day at work, or I've dropped 2 days at work, or we're living on less, we're learning to live on less, because actually it's not just work that's really important. It's that work-life balance that we are trying to get, but actually maybe we haven't got it, and it's more geared towards, you know, building an empire, maybe even for somebody else and not for you, you know, with all that work that you're doing for somebody else, and what costs for you. So sometimes it's better to take that plunge and earn less but have more time, more quality time, and give more time to what I ultimately is my passion and my kind of, you know, following really. So definitely.
So 2 very relatable stories, and relatable to different people for sure. But 2 stories that people can relate to, and I think that's the key. People need to understand what it is you're doing and why, and then they'll buy into that one way or another. And as you say, that might not be money. It might just I know that I mean, we shared it on social media for both of you, and I said to people, you know, give this some love, and giving it love might just be sharing it.
Exactly.
And that's great. If someone shared that for you, that's them supporting you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful for the shares, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, Jennifer. So do it, Jennifer. Okay. Next question from Jane, not me. Jane Binnion. What was the trickiest bit of doing it? And this might be tech, it might be emotion, I don't know. So for you personally.
I think for me it was probably the tech. Not it wasn't a site that I was familiar with, and the video as well. I'd not recorded a video before, and I had to use Vimeo and do that. So that technically was not easy. So I played around with that for quite a bit. I would say that was the kind of the trickiest bit for me, and uploading that then onto the site, and just kind of making sure that I'd put the right things in to get the message across, I think. Yeah.
How long do you think that took you from kind of registering, getting your video done and all that? How, so the behind the scenes work?
Yeah, well, when I kind of throw myself into something, I will throw myself into it until I've done it. So I would say it probably took me, I spent a couple of days on it,
Okay.
and asking people questions and,
Yeah.
and getting like, how do I do this, and have you done this? And so asking people and recruiting other people into how, and playing, really just having a play and seeing how are other people doing it, can I do it like that, and just having a fiddle, you know.
Okay, that's really important because we don't always know the behind the scenes work that's gone in.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really helpful, thank you. Elaine, what was the trickiest bit for you?
Well, I think there are two tricky bits. I mentioned before the rewards. That was just didn't know what to do, and I actually left. I set up the crowdfunding page, and I left it for months because I set it up. I started to set it up before the lockdown, and the lockdown happened, and people were saying to me, "Right, I don't think it's the right time for you to launch your campaign yet." So I just let it sit. And during that time, during the lockdown, I just told my story on social media. That was it. Just kept, the conversation going really during the lockdown. And then when I felt that it was the right time, I actually timed it in with what would have been my parents' 57th wedding anniversary. So that was the launch date, if you like. But yeah, it was, so I left it sitting for quite a while. And during that time, told my story, and I thought more about the rewards. And then in the end, when I was ready to launch, everything came together. But the second thing as well was the actual, as I said before, it was really difficult for me to understand how many people I needed and when NatWest were going to inject the funds. But what I did, the crowdfunder and NatWest Back Her Business is so good. If you have any issues, you just send them an email. So that's what I did. We just emailed, back and forth, and I got all the answers that to all my questions.
That's really good to know. So number one, there is actually a lot of prep that needs doing. That's really important. But also knowing that those emailing, because I had misunderstood. So Helen, when you got to 25%, and NatWest gave you their bit, but when you got to 25%, they only gave you half of it, didn't they, Elaine? And then half later on.
Yes, but that was only because I'd got a certain amount of people as well, you see.
Yes.
If it was because I had 50 backers or more, if I'd have had less, they would have only given £1,000. So
right. So yours was more complicated, and that wasn't clear.
To me, it wasn't, no.
It wasn't at all clear, no. But well done pursuing that and emailing them. And I'm glad to hear that you get information quite quickly and good support. Brilliant. Okay, so so the prep and the reward seems to be the biggest thing. Okay, cool. And Jane submitted a part 2 of her question, which was what next? Now you've got your money, what next?
I think for me, as soon as I could see that I was hitting my target, I commissioned somebody to do my website already. So even before I had finished the campaign, I'd commissioned somebody and I'd paid them some money to retain my order, if you will, and started working with them. And I'd met them a couple of times. One thing that I would say is that my supporters' money comes through more or less straight away or within a couple of days.
Okay.
But the NatWest money comes in much later. So that was making me a little bit warm at one point because I thought, because I did think it was all going to come in at once. But then I noticed an amount in my bank. I think I'd raised about £800, say, and that came in my bank, and I knew that there was a small commission that they take through going on Crowdfunder, and I was thinking, wow, that's
Oh God,
yes.
you thought they
Well, it made
take
me a bit hot, really, when I realised, and then I emailed them, and I said, oh, and then I kind of realised that it's about £500 short. So I contacted them and I said, oh, is there a different process to getting my money from NatWest, even though in principle it had been agreed, and all your ID, and you have to have a bit of an interview online to make sure that you're the person that you say you are. And then I've only just, I think it was last week, received the NatWest money.
Okay.
So I was glad that my website person didn't want paying the full amount at the time, because so be careful of that.
That's good to know. So about a month later, the NatWest money came.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm learning as we go as well.
Yeah.
And the woman I'm dealing with is kind of learning from NatWest as learning as she go. Okay. What about you, Elaine? What's your what next?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that either, Helen. So thanks for that information. My what next, and like yourself, I've already started to look. I started to look for a van before the end of the campaign, because when I was confident that I'd reach the target, I started to do that. So I need to look for the van. Another thing is I don't know about you, but for me it's a bit of a mammoth task, because now I need to contact everybody individually, really, and ask them to choose their rewards. And I know that this can be done because I've already sent an email over the Crowdfunder platform, so you can send emails to everybody, but not everybody opens these emails. Some people, it goes into their spam. So I have to find a way to contact. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that some of the people who I don't know, and I don't have any of their contact details, I'm not on Facebook with them, LinkedIn or whatever, if they don't receive the messages, then how am I going to get their rewards to them? I'm not sure about that. But apart from buying the van now, looking for the van, that's the other big task that I have, to contact everybody about the rewards I want to send out to them as quickly as possible.
So a van, how exciting. Yes, I saw your email, and you're going to be baking a lot of cake, sending a lot of cake out over the next few weeks.
A lot of cakes will be baked, that is for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's another thing I wanted to say as well about the fees. There is an actual page that I found about the fees. I think I just typed in some search engine crowdfunder fees, and there's a page that explains everything. And what I learned is that I have family all over the world. I've got a sister who's in Florida, brother is in China, I lived in France for 20 years, and then I've got family in other countries as well. But what happens is when they make their pledges, there's a certain percentage that's taken out according to where the bank card comes from. Yeah, exactly. So that's something to think about as well. The fees are higher for people who pay with cards outside of the UK.
Okay, so there's an international exchange.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly. Yeah, I think within Europe it's the same.
Yeah.
But outside of Europe, the fees are a bit higher.
Is Crowdfunder a US site though, or English?
I'm not actually sure about that.
I thought it was a US. Anyway, okay, that's another matter. Okay, brilliant. I think we've answered everyone's questions. So my question is your top tips now. If you were to, as we come to a close, any women thinking of doing this, what are your top tips? I'll give you a minute to think about that one.
Yeah, I would say definitely be really clear about what your offer is and be able to express that in a couple of words. And if you've got a story behind your product, whatever it is that you're trying to get backing for, tell your story. And if you've got supporters already, contact them and tell them what you're going to do, and ask people just to share as much as you can as well. Those are my top tips.
Right. Thank you.
I would agree with Helen 100%. And the only thing that I would add is that expect the voice of doubt to come up. when it does, just listen to it, but kind of ignore it if you can.
Yeah.
And just just go for it, even though that voice of doubt will come up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. And I think mine is don't be shy. I know, and I say this a lot, women struggle to ask for help. And you're out there for a month asking people, well, A, for help, and B, for money. That's two big challenges, right?
Yeah, it is. And I was just going to say actually, Jane, that even though I exceeded my target, I still sent out messages asking for support. So that's how not shy I was. I'd exceeded it, and still up until yesterday, which was, the last 24 hours, I was still saying to people, you've still got 24 hours if you'd like to give. And I had, I think a few £100 that came in.
Wow.
More than a few £100. So yeah, even if you exceed your target and it's the last day, just still go for it, because you just never know. And you need as much money as you can get, as we said, because there are fees that are going to come out of this. So if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have got the full 10,000 probably.
Yes, that is a good point. Absolutely. And I'm not quite sure what the fee is. Can you remember? Is it about 2% or something?
I think it's more than that. I think it's around 6.
6%. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So you're right. Out of £10,000, I'm not going to work it out. But out of £10,000, that's a fair chunk, right?
Yeah.
You see, if one of you was,
I think it was about 60. I think they've taken about £60 from me.
From 1,000.
So that's 6%, isn't it? Yeah. And I know they'll take more from me, because I've had people from abroad that have been to the campaign as well. So that's something to think about. You set your target, but include the fees on top of that target as well.
Okay. Really, really important. What would you have done, just out of interest, if you hadn't hit your target, Elaine?
I think I would have thanked people for their support anyway, and just talked about what a great experience it was. But yeah, I'd already decided in my mind that if I hadn't reached the target, that I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd actually just be proud of myself for having had a go. And I would have just thanked everybody anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit like my story. Turning a loss into legacy is making something positive out of something that's potentially, negative and painful. So that's exactly what I would have done as well if I hadn't reached the target. It's just the way I work, where I am.
Because just to be clear, in case people don't know, if you don't hit your target, you don't get what you've raised. You don't get anything. So, and that can, I think, make people a bit nervous about their target. To make it like, I'll make an easy target that I'll get, or do you push yourself and go for what you really need?
Yeah, well, I have you to thank for that, Jane, because you were the one who said, just go for it, go for the maximum.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah. Okay, did I say that? Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Well done. And what about you, Helen? What would you have done if you had your target?
I would still have had a website built, because I think it's really important for me. So it would have just come out of some redundancy money that I'd be getting. So really the money that I will be getting from Crowdfunder will really help me, because hopefully I'll get an all singing, all dancing, lovely website, and then my redundancy money will be able to buy me more time, so that I can really put into the business and maybe put into marketing or something like that I maybe wouldn't have thought of previously. So it's just freed up more money for me to invest it into my business still, in a way that hopefully means that in the long run I'll get it back.
And that's brilliant. And for me, we got involved in NatWest. We got involved in NatWest Baghead business because We understand it's really hard if you're starting a business. A lot of women are starting businesses without any capital. And how do you buy a website? How do you buy your business cards? And people forget that bit. And even though, you know, we've seen women that just needed to raise £300, but it may as well have been 3 million. Because if you're coming off benefits, for example. So for me, that's where Back Her Business, that's why we got involved, because it fits that for me, supporting women, whether you need to raise a tiny bit or a huge bit, whatever, it might be the difference between starting your business now or starting it in 2 years' time.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't have any capital to start up with, so I actually got a loan, a startup loan from the Startup Loans Company, very, very good company, and I think it's about 2.5% interest rate. So it was really good, but I didn't want to get another loan to buy a van. So, you know, I already got a loan, and definitely if I hadn't succeeded in this, I would not have thought of getting a van, or, you know, I'd have just been carrying on as I am now. But yeah,
so
it's really
what does
helpful.
your van mean to you and your business? How will that, what's it for?
Well, basically, it's going to help me to deliver larger orders further. Basically, that's in a nutshell. That's what it is. Because I've got stockists to supply. You know, if people order off the website vicejamaicarumcakes.co.uk, I send out packages like I did for you, Jane, and they'll receive them through the post. But it's much easier if I have larger orders to use the van for those larger orders, and at the same time, if I've got the little packages that are in the area, I can deliver those as well at the same time. So it's just going to help me to be more efficient in the way that I deliver.
Brilliant. And when will your website be ready, Helen? Do you know?
It's just been proofread today. I can see that my phone was flashing before because there's some questions about it. So I'm really hoping that it could be as live as soon as this week.
Wow.
So, yeah. So really excited about that.
And I just wanted to reinforce, your website isn't just a business website; it's a community space, isn't it?
It's going to signpost, it's going to thread into my Facebook page, and on my Facebook page it'll have all of my free stuff that I do. Yes, it'll have some signposting and for all my other things, but it's about reaching and creating this community, sharing tips, sharing advice. Hopefully at some point as well, share articles on there, but at some point I'd like to try and do maybe some podcasts, but I don't know, that's a whole new world for me to get into. So, but yeah, at the moment it's kind of gathering resources and sharing it in that one place in terms of offering advice and tips and practical support maybe as well as to how to reduce our levels of stress, how to maintain health and well-being and not burn ourselves out and run ourselves ragged, and be kind to ourselves ultimately as well.
Absolutely. And then we can eat cake.
Yeah,
do a bit of yoga, eat a bit of cake. Sounds perfect. Thank you so much, ladies. That has been really brilliant. Thank you for giving your time to support and encourage other women to do the same, to raise money for their business. Really, really appreciate your time. This will be put out on YouTube, and I'll share the links with you. Okay, any last thing you want to say?
I feel like eating cake.
No? It's good cake. It's good cake.
I bet. Sounds good.
Just go for it, ladies, and all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take good care.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.